Hey everyone, Rick here, and folks, welcome back to another unit review for Battlefields of Mana. Today we are looking at Men-at-Arms, a common unit type in medieval armies. No different here in this fantasy medieval war game. So here we go, Men-at-Arms. What you're looking at is my favorite, honestly, of the two types of Men-at-Arms units in Battlefields of Mana. So this is the Lunar Knight variation of the Men-at-Arms. Here, I will show you now, is the Regal Guard. I still love them, still love the shield on the banner. And I do like the color scheme. Overall, I like the Regal Guard color scheme of more colorful Renaissance colors a little bit more. I'm just not as huge fan of the pose. I still like it, but I prefer this Lunar Knight pose. And of course, just like with every unit, Regal Guard has their own stat card with their own pose and color scheme figure on there, but of course, stats are the same. I just love the Lunar Knight version of this because they're holding those steel-tipped clubs. I know there's an actual name for it. I can't remember right now. Crescent moons on all their shields. And when I was coming up with an icon for Alternative Armies to paint on the flag, I ended up going with a shield. You'll notice the defensive special ability may have had something to do with that. So who are the Men-at-Arms? What makes them so special? Now, we've already talked about flail bearers. If you haven't seen that video, go check that out. I kind of consider this the sister unit to flail bearers. Why? Even though halberdiers also cost 4 points, hopefully you can see that down there, that this unit of Men-at-Arms also costs 4 points. Flail bearers also cost 4 points. Why don't I consider halberdiers to be in the same category as Men-at-Arms and flail bearers? Well, because I consider halberdiers to be in the same category with the rest of their polearm brethren, the widowers and the spearmen. Whereas flail bearers and Men-at-Arms both cost 4, and they're both kind of out of the ordinary units. Flail bearers was all about rolling massive amounts of dice, and those dice exploding. Men-at-Arms is a balance of really good offense, but also fantastic defense as well. So what are we talking about here? Well, let's start from the top and work our way down. And that is attack dice 2. So typical for a melee infantry unit. 2 attack dice per figure in close combat. Combat strength of +1. So you're rolling those dice. Whatever the results are, add 1. Of course, maxing out at 6 as usual, but all of their dice are +1 in close combat. Armor 2, so that means it takes 3s or better from an opponent's attack roll to hit them. And then here we go. Defensive special ability is Shield Wall. What does that mean? Well, just like flail bearers had the offensive special ability Assault, where any 6s they rolled exploded and created more dice, which could also result in 6s and explode again. Shield Wall is the defensive equivalent. Every 6 that this unit rolls in defense explodes. So that's a big deal. In Battlefields of Mana, dice are, it's more offensive favored because you're rolling as many attack dice as you're allowed, and then defensively you're only rolling as many defense dice as attack dice that got through. So you're never rolling more defense dice than you are attack dice, with some exceptions we're not going to go into here. So the chances of you rolling defensively high enough to equal out and cancel all of the offensive dice that got through your armor is not very high. Typically, you're going to roll maybe a couple low dice, and you don't have any spare dice to make up for it. So every low die roll is going to be a wound. Shield Wall helps prevent that. In fact, Shield Wall prefers that you did roll a lot of dice against us, because that means we are going to get a lot of dice in return, which increases the chances for sixes, which can explode and make our defense roll even better. So this is also why I consider them a good equivalent to Flail Bearers, because Flail Bearers have the ability to roll 12 dice in the first round of combat. Okay, roll your 12 dice. Just know that we have Shield Wall, and our defense dice explode just like your offense dice explode. But that's not it, because we're also great on offense with a +1 to every attack die we roll. So I mean, it's a best of both worlds scenario. You have a great defensive special ability and you have a great offensive special ability. And then, of course, now here's where, you kind of have that trade-off. Okay, so you're great on offense, great on defense. Where's the downside? Well, movement is 3, so they're a little slower. Typical infantry movement, as we've seen, has been 4, with the exception of some heavier unit types like halberdiers, like axemen, and now men-at-arms, with their huge, powerful weapon, their big shield. That reduces their movement to 3 inches per movement action. Of course, you can take up to 2 actions per turn, so if they're both movement actions, you can move up to 6 inches. Initiative of +2, so add 2 to the die roll of a d6 to determine who goes first in combat. Health, as usual, is 2, so every figure in the unit has 2 HP, which means every 2 wounds that the unit takes is a casualty removed from the unit. No other special abilities, and the cost, as you can kind of see down there, is 4. So, 4 points, just like the Flail Bearers. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer rolling tons of offensive dice that explode, but not having anything special on defense, so you're kind of left out in the cold? Hopefully, with that incredible initiative bonus Flail Bearers have, they can strike first with a lot of dice and cripple their opponent. But, assuming they don't, do you all then prefer the Men-at-Arms, who have a fantastic defensive special ability, but also can get the job done on offense as well? I mean, it's a toss-up. I personally can't choose. But that is it. That is a look at how Men-at-Arms function in the world of Battlefields of Mana. So, folks, thank you all so much for watching. As always, I do truly appreciate it. And until next time.